Yeah.
If we can go back a little bit, what even got you interested in politics to begin with? Most people run from it.
Yes, yes. I started my career in the 1990s as a staffer on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress from Florida. Yeah, right. Even though I was from Pennsylvania,
Okay.
I went to Florida State, and as I was graduating, I worked on a campaign, and the guy won, and he brought me up to Washington. So for 6 years, I worked on his education and domestic policy issues. And in that time, I learned about career schools, and especially related to Florida. And some of the folks who are still around today used to come visit with us in the office, and I kept in touch over the years. And I ended up, over the course of my career, I got involved in healthcare. Got a master's in health administration, went to work for a large hospital system. And then I ran for Congress because this was in the early 2000s. I felt like, ironically to what you see today, I thought that we could get along better in our politics nationally, and that there should be more compromise and consensus, and that people would prefer folks who could work together and get along and get things done rather than fight and argue.
Did you hear that? Work closely together, which we're still working hard to do, right?
Right.
Because if it's red and blue, it's not purple.
Right.
And for those people who are studying color, red and blue make purple. Anyway,
That's right. Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of people have shifted their affiliation to independent because of that. We always trust that they'll work together, but why, in your experience,
Yeah.
you experienced something that totally probably given you a big awakening, even though you worked with Republicans and Democrats and tried to bring them together. How easy or how hard was that?
Well, there's two things. One is the people that are politically active, the people who vote in primaries, are on the extremes. That's been proven by research, but it's also been my experience in working with those kind of folks. And if you want to run for office, you have to win the primary first before you even get to the general. So you have to appeal to people on the extremes. And as a result, the people that end up in elected office, whether it be at the state level in Tallahassee or any state capital, or certainly at the national level, they are punished if they are perceived to be working with the other side. If you are labeled as somebody who's willing to compromise, that's a dirty word. So as a result, there aren't that many people left.
Kind of like high school, I'm no longer friends with Kevin, but if you talk to Kevin,
Right.
we're no longer friends,
Right.
right? Where it's like, what involved? Kevin's has been nice to me. Why should I have to listen to you? But it's almost like a high school mentality.
And you see it with issues where people will take different sides on an issue over time, the same issue with the same facts, merely because who's in control of Congress has changed, and whether or not you're going to be blamed for it as your party or not. Raising the debt ceiling is a perfect example, right? Everyone understands that has to happen. You can't let the economy collapse.
Right.
So who's ever in charge of Congress, it's their responsibility because they're the majority. And that changes over time. So if you're in the minority, you're going to be someone who votes no on that. And you're going to blame the other guy. Say, they want to raise the debt ceiling. That's a bad thing. But if you're in the majority, then the tables are turned and the opposite is true. So that's what would irritate me, is people who take a different position on the exact same issue simply because of the politics of it.
Yeah. Or the relationship, they may not like somebody else.
Right.
So they just might pick the opposite. Not that it's good for the people, but it satisfies their own anger against the other.
Right. And I served on the education committee and got to know about career schools and trade schools. And as a Democrat, that was an issue that put me at odds with a lot of folks in my party, because there was this college for all mentality that the best path was 4-year degree. Everyone had to go in that direction. And somehow if you made a different choice, you took the lesser option. That was substandard education, and we should direct kids away from that. And then a lot of career schools, if you think of the trades, we're at a beauty and wellness cosmetology school today, but you think of the skilled trades, the healthcare programs, some of the business programs that are out there, those are for-profit schools for the most part. And they are doing a great service to the country because we have a skills gap. The workforce shortage that exists is holding America back because employers cannot find skilled workers to fill these professions. In cosmetology alone, there's an 80,000 worker shortage every year. So,
and growing.
Yeah, so the schools that expand that pipeline and direct people into those professions and help fill those jobs, for the most part, those trade schools are for-profit schools, private and for-profit schools.
But you know what I think makes people's ear ring is what you just said, for-profit. Now, we're not being pigs, meaning for-profit, we're trying to make billions of dollars like these tech companies.
Right.
We have to keep our organization running. A church is a for-profit. Right. They have to keep the lights on. They have to keep the doors open. They have to make sure Jesus is still hanging, right? And showing that he's still there. But when people hear for-profit, what I want them to understand is it's not just about the money. It's creating careers that are well needed. That you said there's a gap in. And where do you see the biggest gaps? Besides what people want is hair.
Yeah.
And you said something about healthcare as well.
Nurses, 200,000 vacancies every year for nurses in this country. There's reasons relating to the educational pipeline because you need clinical training slots and there aren't enough slots. The capacity issue for schools is a big issue. And with nurses, the private and for-profit schools are able to expand capacity and have greater access to technology than, say, a community college or a public university. So they can have larger classes, and therefore more nurses will graduate. But there are states in this country where they restrict the growth for private and for-profit colleges and nursing schools, even though they have enormous shortages in the nursing workforce.
So is it the federal government or the state DOE or whatever? Who is stifling? Because I know every state is different.
With that issue, it's states.
So most of the time, excuse me, I'm going to just turn this down a little bit. Most states, so it's more state problem than federal problem.
It's the state boards of nursing.
Okay.
And it's states like California, Illinois, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, generally Democratic-run states that have a concern about the idea of for-profit education, and most of those states have a strong trade union.
So help me understand, as just a regular, as a regular consumer, or a regular person out there, somebody's always pointing fingers in who it is, and there's an argument all the time, and we don't want to get into a political argument, but why is so what you're saying, if I hear you, is the Democrats are preventing this because they want people to go to college. Am I correct? Am I hearing you correctly?
I wouldn't say on that issue it's necessarily a partisan issue. It's just for decades in America, we have pushed kids into the 4-year career path. Right. And that if you choose, and the shop class in high school was always perceived as those are the kids that can't make it, so we have to put them in shop class. Thankfully, we're past that now, where people understand if you go into a skilled trade, if you want to be a nurse, if you want to go to cosmetology school, that is a viable career path, and you can do well and you can be happy in those professions, and we need them, and there are job shortages, there's opportunity. And now that we have AI coming into the picture and the displacement that exists, the disruption to the workforce, that adds an incentive for people to choose professions that are less likely to be impacted by AI. And those are generally more blue-collar jobs.